All right, today we are diving into a book that pretty much blew up the whole conversation around work, wealth, and living life on your own terms. We're talking about The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss. And look, this isn't just about working less. It's a full-on manual for completely redesigning your reality. So let's get into it. So the book just drops you right in with this quote from Oscar Wilde. And wow, it really sets the tone, doesn't it? It's basically a challenge to stop thinking about what's realistic and start imagining what could be possible if you just change the rules of the game. And that's exactly what this book became for millions of people, a blueprint. It kicked off this whole global movement of lifestyle design, showing people a way to get off the conventional path and join this group Ferriss calls the New Rich. Okay, so to really get the solution the book is offering, we've got to first understand the problem it's trying to solve. Ferriss gives it a name: the deferred life plan. It's that standard life script that, let's be honest, most of us are taught to follow. Sound familiar? Yeah. I mean, this is the model where we trade the best years of our lives, our most energetic, healthy years, for this promise of freedom way, way down the road. We're basically putting life on hold, right? We accept decades of grind for just a short little period of fun at the very end. And this right here, this is such a crucial point. People don't actually want $1 million in the bank. What they want is the experience of total freedom that they think only $1 million can buy. So the book asks a really simple but powerful question. What if you could have that lifestyle right now without waiting to become a millionaire? And that question, well, it leads us straight to the alternative, which is embodied by this group of people that Ferriss calls the New Rich. So the new rich aren't defined by the number in their bank account. Not really. They're defined by their freedom and their control. They're all about having options and amazing experiences in the present, instead of just saving everything up for a future that, might not even happen. And when you put them side by side like this, you can really see the massive shift in mindset. A deferrer wants to work for themselves, but the new rich, they want to have others work for them. Deferrers save up for one giant retirement at the end, while the new rich take these mini retirements all throughout their lives. It's a complete flip from a life of endurance to one of intentional active living. And this whole philosophy, it has a name: lifestyle design. The goal is super simple, really. You build your work around the life you actually want to live, not the other way around. You define your ideal life first, and then you engineer your job and your income to make that life happen. Now, to really wrap your head around this, we have to completely change how we even think about wealth. It's not just about dollars and cents. I mean, the book makes this killer point that your salary, that absolute number, is pretty much meaningless if you don't have control. Think about it. If you make $1 million a year, but you have zero say over your time or where you have to be, are you really wealthy? The new rich would say absolutely not. True wealth is about having options. And that brings us to this awesome concept called the freedom multiplier. The idea is that your money has way more power, like 3 to 10 times more, when you control your time and location. So yeah, that person making $40,000 a year with total freedom, they're effectively richer than a banker making $500,000 who's chained to a desk for 80 hours a week. Their money just buys them a much better lifestyle. And this isn't just some abstract theory. Tim Ferriss himself actually went through this exact journey. He went from being this totally burned out entrepreneur, making really good money but hating his life, to just saying, enough, buying a one-way ticket and stepping away. And the crazy part? When he automated his business and got out of the way, it actually became more profitable. He was his own first case study. So you might be thinking, this all sounds amazing, but how do you actually do it? Well, the book lays out a really clear 4-step framework. He calls it the DEAL blueprint. Okay, so let's break down this DEAL acronym. First up is D for definition. This is all about getting crystal clear on what you actually want your life to look like. Next, E for elimination. This means forgetting about time management and instead focusing on ruthlessly eliminating tasks that don't matter. Then we have A for automation. This is the key, building a source of income that works for you, not the other way around. And finally, L for liberation, designing your work so you're not tied to one physical place. Now, the book wraps up by tackling the one single thing that stops almost everybody from even trying any of this, and that's fear. You know how it is. We let our minds run wild with all these catastrophic what-ifs, right? But we almost never actually sit down and define what that worst-case scenario really is. That vague fear of the unknown is almost always worse than the reality. And this leads to a really powerful way to reframe risk. Ferriss argues that when the so-called safe path, the 9 to 5, the 401k, is proven to be insecure, the cost of trying something different drops to basically zero. It actually becomes the perfect time to experiment. And so we end with the question the book wants you to ask yourself. If you actually define your fears, what you'll often find is that the worst-case scenario is temporary, it's reversible, and it's not nearly as scary as you thought. And the potential upside? A life of freedom that you once thought was only a fantasy.